I'm that ray of sunshine telling them we haven't been forsaken.
The giving spirit is as passionate in the boomers today as it was in our 20s, and we as a generation can still impact our country.
Lead, inspire, change the world again. Join thousands and find which volunteer opportunity is best for you. Call 1-800-424-8867 today or visit www.getinvolved.gov. This message is brought to you by the Corporation for National and Community Service and this station.
The SEC lives here. Powered by Pepsi. WGSX Lynette in Panama City. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
There's no need to fear.
The Underdogs are here. The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air.
What time is it?
Broadcasting from the Rib Crib Radio Room. Time to let the big dogs eat. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Wow, what a game last night, man. You are now tuned into the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida here in the Rib Crib Radio Room on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. It almost feels like a Monday with that game. You know what I mean? It feels like we just got done with some Sunday night football, another crazy game. Gotta say something, man. Everybody knows I'm a big Alabama fan, but I'm so excited for Georgia fans today, and I got to say that they've got to be one of the best fan bases out there. You know what I mean? You've basically right now have like two lanes of Alabama fans, which are, hey, you know, we've been there, done that, glad for Georgia in this situation. And then you got the other ones who are like, oh, well, if we would have been healthy, if Jameson Williams doesn't. And I mean, while there's truth to that, the game that we're playing is football, and injuries are a part of that game. So you hate to see that for Jameson Williams. But here's another side of that. Stetson Bennett, being the walk-on JUCO transfer that he was, is that the guy played great, right? But what I'm trying to get at is that's almost like having an injured quarterback in a small sense, if you get what I'm saying. So kudos to Georgia. Kudos to the wonderful story of Stetson Bennett, the emotion on the sideline, Kirby Smart jumping like a leprechaun when Ringo picked that ball off. Get down, get down, get down. Yeah, he's going to get down in the end zone. What about it? What'd you guys take away from the national championship? 41 years later, the Georgia Bulldogs get to hoist the trophy again.
Well, I mean, I predicted it earlier in the season that the last time we saw Herschel running in the state of Georgia, they won a championship, and he's running for office, and they had to win another championship, and they did it, man. And I think it was all the luck of Herschel. I'm telling you right now, that's what it was. It had nothing to do with all the hard work and the great dedication and the good coaching by Kirby. It was Herschel running again.
There you go. Herschel runs, the Dogs win. What you got, Caveman?
It was just a good game, a tale of two halves. First half, very little scoring. It was just a field goal frenzy, if you will. And then, in the second half, it just started opening up. And if there was more time, you probably would have seen a lot more points. And, just not the outcome that I, necessarily thought was going to end up happening. But, hey, it was a great, great game.
Yeah, another fantastic game. A great way to end the season. You said it right there, Caveman Rick, a tale of two halves. That game really resembled Alabama LSU some years ago. What was it? 2011? Yeah, 2011. So Alabama LSU played to the 9-6 and then play again in the national championship. And it was almost like both of those games culminated, except for Georgia in the second half of that game looked like Alabama in the national championship. And then Zeus White, we were all over James Cook and the job that he would do. But Zamir White, man, what a game that he had. Brock Bowers being the influencer that he's come to be. And Stetson Bennett, I can't sit here and tell you that Stetson Bennett played better last night than he did in the SEC championship. The difference is they got the dub, but he had two fumbles. That one that Brian Branch recovered on the sideline by the tip of his tippy toes. I was not expecting them to really even call that a fumble. And then you go through it in slow motion. It's like, okay, wow, what a play. Did not look like Brian Branch was even really going to get that ball. It looked like in his head, from his perspective, that was an incomplete pass. What a play there. Man, I just can't get over it. The Georgia Bulldogs are national champions, and another assistant takes down Nick Saban. Now, you've been hearing over the media, ESPN, last night they were talking about the 1.1 rush per attempt for Alabama last night. Well, a lot of that you got to credit to Georgia's defense, not just necessarily stopping the run, but because of the sacks. And that addition there, 4 sacks for negative 43 yards, really affects what happens and leaves you with 28 carries and 30 yards. Brian Robinson Jr. did as good as he could up against that tough Georgia defense, 22 carries, 68 yards. Once Jameson Williams went down, though, you knew that Georgia was in control, right? It was like they had to up their playbook for specific plays just for Jameson Williams. Once he goes down, it alleviated them a little bit. But George Pickens, 1 catch, 52 yards. How about that touchdown catch by Mitchell to get them the lead? Just so many things standing out to me from that game last night. So glad that the college season ended like that.
What about mentioning all these great players that did a lot of things? Most of them had to do with scoring. What about Dean in Georgia, man? I mean, what a leader! You could see all game long,
Yes,
whether
sir.
it was on the field, on the sidelines, pumping players up. Whether they made it a spectacular play, telling them give them attaboys and just keep it up. And even if somebody maybe missed an assignment or fouled up, just going over, getting him in his ear, telling him it's going to be okay, pumping him up, reinforcing them, and just getting him to go out there and just be a dog and just go out there and play for him.
Absolutely.
It was great.
I think the great thing for the common viewer who might not necessarily be a fan of either team or the SEC in general was that we saw last night was an exciting play in every single aspect of the game, right? Whether it be offense, running the ball, receiving the ball,
Special teams.
great throws, defense, defensive sacks, interceptions, great line play, great special teams play, a big field goal block, which I believe Rick called last week. What an unbelievable call to say that that would be the difference in the game. And I honestly believe that really was the momentum shift in the game. But then on top of that, like you said, the coaching change. We saw the injury, and after that, the change that Alabama made to keep the game consistent until the end. Really, the score didn't really dictate how the game actually played out, and we know that because of the 79-yard interception. But what an unbelievable game to view as just a generalized viewer like myself, somebody who isn't necessarily a fan of the SEC or either team,
Right.
but just loves football in general. What an unbelievable game to be able to watch.
It was as close, I think, that you can get at the college level of watching an NFL type game with the amount of players who are going to be headed to the NFL in a very short time. Probably, I mean, Georgia could be decimated by the amount of players going to the draft, but I have faith in them reloading, relocking, and reloading. It's so exciting, man, that we're always talking about this. Georgia can't get it done. They can't get over the hump. Kirby in the big game, the biggest stage of them all, and Kirby gets it done. And here's another thing. That's where he's from. That's his school. He graduated from there. That makes it that much more special to see that 41-year drought end with someone who has ties to it.
Only fourth time, I think they said last night that happened. Philip Fulmer did it with Tennessee.
He was the last to do it.
And then there was 2 others I can't remember just off the top of my head, though.
I think the last time it happened, Kirby was just going into high school.
No, man.
Right.
I love it,
what
dude.
an unbelievable thing for him to be able to be a part of.
What a story. They're going to have a movie on Stetson Bennett one day. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think I was really considering that conversation last night, how similar he is to other short quarterbacks, and he might possibly have a similar story. He's got a very similar in college story that, relates to like a Doug Flutie or similar, Peyton or something like that. A little guy that they don't expect is going to be able to do something, and he gets up on those tippy toes and he sees what he needs to see and makes things happen, whether it's with his arm or his feet. And he might not be a great quarterback, but he gets it done and he's passionate.
They might want to wait a little while since they just came out with that Kurt Warner movie.
Yeah.
Let them capitalize on that money first, and then once that kind of dies down, then you can do something with Stetson Bennett.
That's right.
One of our listeners, Ian Malone, also a great author. If you ever just go check him out on Twitter, and you'll be able to find all of his content.
The Four Horsemen universe.
Yeah, great stuff. I think you've got a couple of his books as well.
I do, yes, I'm working on the second one now.
There we go. So he's watched the movie, The American Underdog, with the story about Kurt Warner, said that it was pretty dang good. So I'm excited to watch that. Definitely have to take his word for what it is when it comes to how would you grading movies or whatever, giving his take.
Absolutely. He's really insightful, and he really thinks about the details and a lot of things. As an author, he he expands his mind. I think a little bit more than the average person, and he does that in his love for sports, and you really see it in his love for NASCAR. His perspective, not only from a viewer but a fan, but also maybe from a broadcaster's perspective, having had his radio show back in the day. So very interesting and always very fun to have him on the show. Love to have him on again sometime, actually.
Mark McCarris says the SEC was down this year. They only got 2 teams in the playoffs. Oh man,
Fair enough.
what a game! There's the sad reality of that was our last college football game for the season, but we still got playoffs. We still got one more Sunday filled with football, and you can listen to that right here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're nowhere near done with the national championship game. We've got your minute with Max coming up at 4:15. Old School is going to give us a call, still under the weather, but he's going to give us a call today at 4:30 and talk about the game from his perspective and how he felt 41 years later, finally being able to witness Georgia getting
I'm
another
sure
one.
he felt pretty good last night. It made him feel a lot better than probably what he was, earlier in the day.
Absolutely. I'm actually anxious to hear about his tradition or superstition, whatever you'd call it, in his typical big games, how he'll excuse himself. And so I want to see how he did last night in that from his perspective in that game.
Oh man, he was probably not inside. Well, because he's under the weather, who knows? But he was probably not inside for those last 3 or at least for the first 2 touchdowns of the third quarter. We're still playing trivia today, brought to you by Merchant Management Group. Now, first, if you're a business owner, you need to take a minute, check out how much you spent on credit card processing fees last year, 2021. If you want to eliminate those fees, we can help you. Give our friends over at Merchant Management Group a call, 850-747-0664. They're a local company right here in Panama City, and they will get you taken care of. If you want to save some money, give them a call. Merchant Management Group, 850-747-0664. The trivia question for today: who holds the Georgia record for most rushing touchdowns in a season? Who holds the Georgia record for most rushing touchdowns in a season?
Well, we should get some quick phone calls from the dog fans. Let's go.
Yes, sir. I'm excited about it. So the MLB Players Union is going to be holding a bargaining session Thursday. MLB reached out to the union to set up the meeting, and they're going to make a proposal that touches on some core economic and competitive issues. The difference right now between the sides is significant. The players are wanting substantive gains across the board with earlier free agency and arbitration, a large increase in the competitive balance tax threshold, players getting paid more at a younger age, and new mechanisms to incentivize teams to win so that Scott Boras won't come out again and say that basically the rest of the league handed the World Series to a certain team, blah, 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 blah. So they previously offered changes that included the removal of direct draft pick compensation on top free agents, a draft lottery, a universal DH, a minimal raise for the CBT threshold, and a higher minimum salary. The union, in its latest proposal, said it was open to expanded playoffs. 12 teams, though, not the 14 teams that the league is seeking. And they also are wanting the league to put advertising patches on jerseys, which we've seen in the NBA. Got it right there on the breast, I guess. Where would you say that on the jersey? The front of the jersey?
Yeah, I would say the beginning of the sleeve. If there's a sleeve on a jersey, I would say that would be the beginning of the sleeve.
Or like typically, like on the opposite side that you would have the captaincy, right, like on a NFL or a hockey jersey.
Yeah. Right. So NHL, they've got them on the helmets. We even in baseball, didn't they tour around with on the mound like digital advertising through the field?
They
and
also
stuff.
do that in NHL too. Back behind the nets, they also do the digital imaging
on the ice, things like that. Absolutely.
They're gonna make as much money as they possibly can. But I know the three of us baseball lovers. I don't like this idea. We know it's gonna happen. But
eventually,
let's push it off to another CBA.
The uniforms will end up looking like NASCAR cars, and you'll be buying, space, and it'll be dictated by the amount of space you buy. So a small, little sticker or, patch, if you will be pretty cheap, and a large, insignia is probably going to cost you an arm and a leg.
It won't be too far before we're named, it'll be the Washington Walmarts or something.
And would it matter, like, on the certain, players, like, we're talking NHL, so a guy like a McDavid, a guy like Ovechkin, they could be covered, like, where you wouldn't even know what jersey they were wearing underneath.
Oh, so
But
like
if it was
almost
like a
NIL type
like
stuff
a
where it's like
lesser-known player, might have hardly anything on their jersey.
that would be so odd to see, man, because it would individualize a team sport.
Well, it'd be like
further
in the
than what it already
military.
is.
The more that you've done, like a military, like, dress, uniform, you have all those ribbons that are on the breast lapel for somebody that's been a whole lot, like medals of honor and whatnot. So that could be kind of cool,
It could be kind of
like your
cool,
accolades.
but if it were represented to accolades rather than marketing
You
and
gotta do it the right
advertising,
way.
because some people are more marketable than others, regardless of the statistics, or like offensive line and defensive linemen when we get to the NFL. You can't play a game without those, right? But they don't get the same recognition unless they've been in the league and they're 40 years old, Andrew Whitworth type deal. You know what I mean?
Or they're getting a penalty thrown against them, and that's usually about the only time you hear their name mentioned.
Another great point. So, how about Coach Mike Tomlin watching the Chargers and the Raiders game as everybody else in America was that loves football, but he fell asleep while it was still a 15-point lead for the Raiders. How does that got to feel to wake up and be like, hey, we're in the playoffs?
He must have been pretty confident, I think. If you're falling asleep, he wasn't too worried, I think. I think he thought they were going to make it in and they were going to be good, so lights out.
I think he's got one of the more comfortable positions in all of the NFL, in all of football, so his paycheck doesn't change whether they go to the playoffs or not. He knows that his team is not going to contest very deep into the playoffs if they did have that opportunity.
And they don't change coaching staff or coaches very often.
Exactly.
I mean, they've had 3 coaches in the last 55, 60 years basically now. So I mean,
like I said,
he has good job security.
He's got one of the most comfortable spots. He's not going anywhere.
All right. Well, I'm not trying to do any advertising here. Definitely covering up the labels, but these bottles probably, if you put it on camera one for me, Caveman Rick, these bottles are probably reminiscent to a lot of fans, and a lot of Georgia fans would probably have these from the year 1980. Well, a 57-year-old Georgia fan from Savannah, Wesley Mullins, had 3 bottles left, so he figured he would drink one after the Georgia Bulldogs won the national championship. So, 2 big questions every Georgia fan wants to know: how it tasted and how was he feeling. He said it tasted okay, just flat as you know what. And then the favorite comment from a story I was reading was his response to his current health status one day after drinking the bottle. He said he's not feeling great, but he credits that to the bourbon rather than the Coke. He says, I feel like crap. I think that was from the bourbon, though, not the 1980 Coke. I mean, you got to have you got a lot of gall to be drinking something from 1980.
If he had some 1908 Coke, it might actually have the real Coke in there that they're talking about.
He would have been able to run to Indianapolis.
It would have been authentic.
That's it.
All right, we're going to take a short break. We're going to be right back with Your Minute with Max. Find out what he thought about the national championship. He's probably sad he won't be able to kick it with old school today.
My weather forecast overnight, mostly clear, chilly, 35 to 42, light east winds. Light east winds Wednesday, it'll be partly and mostly sunny, about 55 to 62. And it'll be around 62 Thursday, mostly sunny. Friday should be mostly sunny in the mid-60s or so, chance of showers over the course of the weekend. This weather forecast has been brought to you by All About Garage Doors, your garage door repair specialist. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Dan Patrick Show.
Colts, Chargers, Browns, Ravens, Saints, all out. Ravens were one of the top 5 teams for the Super Bowl, odds-wise. Saints won 13 games last year. The Browns were favored to go to the AFC title game. Colts had 7 Pro Bowl players. The problem is they have Carson Wentz.
Dan Patrick. The Dan Patrick Show.
Weekdays 9 to 11 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Mid-South Lumber has new owners. Stop in and visit Ann and Dave. They're on site every day to make you a priority. They're not the typical big box store, and customer service is their #1 priority. Locally owned and operated for over 40 years. Transform your home with James Hardy Siding. Durability, fire resistant, sustainability. James Hardy Color Plus is virtually maintenance free and comes with a 30-year warranty. Mid-South Lumber, the biggest little lumber yard in Panama City.
The original J. Michael's Restaurant on Thomas Drive, Panama City Beach. Serving Bay County visitors from the U.S., Canada, and the world over since 1976. A little Southern and a little Creole with a lot of hospitality. Come enjoy J. Michael's Seafood Platter, the best gumbo on the beach, red beans and rice, the world-famous spaghetti on Wednesday. 3210 Thomas Drive, J. Michael's Restaurant.
Have you ever thought about flying an airplane? It's not as difficult as you may think. Simply call Island Air Express. They are a family-oriented flight school who cares about the student pilot progression and more of a one-on-one flight training school. Island Air Express can help you celebrate your birthday by taking you on a birthday flight. Let Island Air Express show you the world from a different view by taking you and your family across beautiful Panama City Beach. Call Island Air Express at 850-814-6407 or visit their website at islandairexpress.com.
Live from the Rib Crib Studio. Doing what other stations can't. The Afternoon Underdogs is live and local. 850-215-6290.
Always be sure to listen for the dial tone.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Back inside of the Rib Crib radio room. Before we get to your minute with Max Delight and talking about PRG Panhandle Restaurant Groups and Rib Crib, we're going to get over to the phone line. We've got Anthony on the line. Who holds the Georgia record for most rushing touchdowns in a season?
Is it Garrison Hurst?
That is 100% correct.
Cha-ching.
Yes, sir. Anthony, do me a favor. Shoot me a text to the same number that you called, 850-215-6290, and I'll give you your choice of restaurants you can pick from.
All right, thank you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate you listening. Go Dogs. Man, what a night it was last night. And a quick couple of congratulations, man. I had a lot of stuff to do today just with fantasy football, getting all of those winners in order, the prize packages ready. Our Capital One Bowl Mania Pick'em got the winner there, and it came down to, I really thought that J. Michael Davis was running away with it, ended up coming down to the points. Chef Ross ties with J. Michael Davis. Chef Ross did not pick his points. So J. Michael Davis wins our Capital One Bowl Mania Pick'em. Closest to the score for the game last night. We only had two people pick Georgia. We had Ryan Warren and Travis Oglesby. And the total points for Ryan Warren was 58 and for Oglesby was 59. So they were real close. But I've already contacted them and let them know how they can pick up their prize packages. Let's get over to Max. What's going on with Rib Crib, my man?
Hey, it's been a while.
Yeah, it has. Were you cheering pretty hard last night for the game? You sound a little hoarse.
Coming off the Rona.
Oh, no doubt.
A while ago. I'm good. You're not going to get it. Anyway.
I'm immune, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but I was actually in Italy, in Milan, when the first person died of corona.
Oh, yeah.
And I flew back into the United States about 36 hours before they shut the country down.
Nice. You got out in time.
So I was probably in the middle of all of it.
Escape
and
from Milan.
I never had it. Nobody in my family except for, my girlfriend had it about a year and a half afterwards. But
could have been Italian Boston, too.
Yeah, forget about it. We throw that corona right on top of our fucking drink and it's over. You know, forget about it.
All right, so what's going on with Rib Crib?
We have a couple Spirit Nights coming up, January 23rd and the 30th. North Bay Haven Charter Academy cheer team will be there.
Nice.
And then also we have a bike night February 1st.
February 1st for bike night. Let's go. When's our next Ribs and Rides?
A couple weeks out.
I'm
waiting on the weather, but it should be good. We've been getting a lot more like luxury cars and different people reaching out about it, so should be a lot better selection in 2022. Not that 2021's was bad, but even higher stakes for the winners. So.
Yeah, let's
That's
go.
awesome.
Bigger and better every
I
year.
was gonna say if it's gonna get any bigger than it was, it's gonna be exceptional because there was pretty great turnouts you had before.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
So the game last night, man. Who were you pulling for? What did you have the score prediction going like?
I think I was telling people my guess was Bama 30-24, so I was wrong. Man, I don't know. Georgia just had great red zone defense. I mean, hats off to Kirby Smart because I think Saban's a much better coach than him, and I thought he held his own last night. Stetson Bennett looked a little nervous at the start. He didn't do a good job easing Stetson Bennett into the game. Like passing right away, like Saban.
That's
like
a
if
great
you watch
point.
their first two drives, like Saban ran the ball a couple times, had a nice little screen, like got Bryce Young acclimated, and then
I bet
Stetson was airing it out on the first play, almost got sacked. Did he get sacked on the first play? I think he did.
I believe he did.
And
yeah.
then fumbled, but he got so lucky that he fell on it.
Right, it like bounced right back to him like a basketball.
Right. He's so lucky for that because I could have turned the tide.
Yep.
But it was a good game. I mean, it stinks that it ended on that pick six. I was hoping for OT just for more football. But Georgia definitely deserved it. I mean, their defense was rabid last night.
You know, the bettors were too, because I'm sure a lot of people got the over on that, and that might have helped it out too, because it got pretty close there.
Yeah, you're right. With OT too, if they get the 2-point conversion.
I hit everything last night. I pushed it. I covered myself both ways just in case. You know, if you tease with 4 teams, you get 13 points.
Yep.
So I had Alabama from 3 up to 16. They won by 15, so that was really close. And of course, I had Georgia 10 points the other way, so I was covered both. And then the under, I had the under 52.5, which hit easy.
Easy.
I had it up at 65.
I don't know about it.
But man, was it close?
It started getting close. What's 33 plus 18? Quick accounting.
It was 51. That's the score that that wasn't the exact score, but that was the total that I predicted in 27-24 is 51 total points.
Oh, yeah, you're 100% right. Wow. That's pretty daggone good right there. But so one more point in that. That's over.
Wright State Chris.
It would have pushed 52.5 is what their total.
Oh, okay, all
so
right.
I would have still won.
Any type of football score, and it would have went over that. Is what I was getting.
I think Wright State Chris predicted a very similar score, but I think he had Alabama.
It was Alabama 27-24.
Yeah, that they don't block that field goal. Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's the difference in the game right there.
Oh man, Caveman Rick just absolutely saved you with that. When they blocked that kick, Lynn Haven Rob texted in and he was like, "Was that a dream or was that real?" Great call, whoever called that on the show. So yeah, big special teams play.
Thankfully, I was good either way because I only did teasers, so I had plenty of extra points.
Yeah, and I didn't bet on anything, and I could have maybe made some money on that, but I'm just not the gambling person.
Yeah.
Maybe I can start talking to Tim over here. He can start coaching me up.
3,500 for a special teams. Like
Yeah,
a
I could
punt
throw
blocker
$100
field goal block.
on that and could have got paid. That would have been nice.
Wouldn't have been here today.
He would be here today.
That's
No,
me,
I'd be here still.
That's me on vacation if the Raiders game was a tie.
Oh man,
Sorry, Dave.
That would have been so nice.
See you in 12 days, sir.
That would have been a rough go. Old school's out. I would have been just trying to call everybody like, all right, listen, we're going to set this up like the Feinbaum show, all right? Y'all are going to – no, don't even point back that way.
Come on, man.
No. Anyway, so back to the game last night. If there's one of these two teams that will be back here next year, do you think Georgia could repeat? Do we think that Georgia could repeat?
What's the accident?
I think they're going to just lose a lot of guys. I don't know. They had a few things fall their way, too. I don't know. I mean, Bama did as well to get there. I don't know. The game really changed last night, too, once Jameson Williams went down because you could just tell the coverage was so much tighter, too, on the freshman wide receiver who was in. And, I mean, Bryce Young, like, people were saying he didn't have a Heisman performance, but it's like Georgia's defense was just incredible. Like, no one was open the whole time. He hit some guys in the hand still, and, like,
If you're gonna tell me that 35 of 57 for almost 400 yards isn't like his first 2 interception game, that hurts, right?
Sure.
But you're trying to make something happen at the end of the game, and Ringo gets that pick. No, Bryce Young played his tail off. Everybody in that game last night played great. You can make the argument for Kyrie Jackson, the cornerback for Alabama, who got burnt twice. Maybe not had a great game.
Right.
Exactly, it's a learning curve.
Georgia is going to lose some people, like you're saying, Max. But, like, with the transfer portal and everything, I mean, they're going to reload pretty fast. And it's SEC, and they just won. So they're not going to have any problem getting people to want to come over and play with them.
I actually agree with you, Max. I think that, what is Stetson? He's like 36 years old. He's about to retire soon. So
I mean, he was the scout team quarterback in 2018 being Baker Mayfield for the Georgia defense.
Right. But they're, like you said, they're going to graduate a number of people. A lot of guys that aren't graduating are going to go into the draft. I imagine some people will also go into the portal. There's other teams that are already looking fantastic, also ahead of the game, like Texas A&M, and we know there's a lot of other money to be spent in Texas now that we have the NIL. So I agree with you. I think they're going to be similar to Clemson. I think they're going to fall off a little bit. I think Kirby will still bounce back, no doubt, but I think they will fall off. I don't think they'll repeat.
Let's go over to the NFL. The Bears finally made a good move, right?
Yes.
No more Nagy. Who's the replace? Are you got to get a GM first, right?
Yeah,
or do you go coach and then GM?
The smart organization gets the GM first.
Whoa.
But we're not the smart organization.
Ownership first. Start at the very, very top.
You
What you have to do, and work your way down from there.
You can't open this can of worms for me, man. Our owners are. I'm not going to get canceled
Ancient.
on air.
I'm not going to let's talk about
Our
them.
owners have George Halas's blood in them, and they don't like football. Like, I don't get it. Like,
I don't
Is Virginia McCaskey a vampire?
Maybe. She's like 96.
That's what I was thinking.
And then, like, George McCaskey and them being like, oh, yeah, like, we're just fans of the game. We don't follow closely. It's like, what? How do you own a football team and you're not involved?
Isn't that the family's only, like, revenue source? They're not like some of these other owners, like Jeffrey Lurie, the Eagles coach.
They're still, like, billionaires,
He's from,
though.
well, I understand, but, like, some of these other guys, this is, like, their toy. This is, like, something they're playing with. They have other revenue coming in. And if that's, like, your really only main source of income, then I guess you got to do it by the books and make sure you're constantly making money and not going, outside.
Oh, yeah.
You're
I was going to say just do it
so.
better.
Just having billions of dollars, the money that you make off the interest by having it in mutual funds and other areas, you live incredibly by making. If you make only 10%, you're making $100 million extra a year.
Yeah, I don't know what that's like, so I'm not there yet. I'm about $1 billion short of being a billionaire.
Yeah,
right
they're
about
living
now.
an entirely different life.
and then there were rumors. This goes back to the ownership thing of that during the season Jeff Bezos was in town because we're probably moving to Arlington Heights because, as people who follow the news know, Chicago is kind of a mess. It's a nice way to put it. And so they would move to Arlington Heights because, well, that's where I'm actually from. That's where I grew up.
Oh, nice.
And everything. But
that's why they want to move there.
Yeah.
Probably. But it's the racetrack there.
Wagon
It's a big
Stadium.
horse racing track that's owned by Churchill Downs, and they are going to sell out of it. And so the Bears are probably.
Hopefully you have
looking
real
at it, which would be
estate still
awesome.
there because I'm sure the real estate's
My
going to
parents,
shoot
that's
up
what my
the value.
parents are hoping for.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
like, come on.
Yes,
But
please.
anyway, though, so they're not involved in it. So I would want us to hire the guy who's the assistant GM from the Colts, Ed Dodds. He's a beast. And then of the coaches they've listed so far that we're like interested in, I think Dabble, is that how you say it? Dabble? The guy,
Oh, Brian Daboll.
Daboll, yeah,
Daboll,
from,
yeah.
I don't know, yeah.
He-
the offensive
he
coordinator
was-
from the Bills, yeah.
He was OC over at Alabama for a little bit, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he would be my first, and then I was putting a list together of these guys.
Okay, this is my dog, man. I love when Max comes on. Gosh.
I think Lou Riddick might be a good GM there.
Ooh. Take him away from ESPN. We don't get no Monday Night Football no more.
The other guy was too that guy from the Browns for GM. The guy who's like the Princeton guy's name's like I can't even pronounce it. It's Kwesi Adolfo Mensah.
Oh, okay.
But he's supposed to be. I don't know, he's like
That's a better job than I
smart
would have done.
analytics dude. And then I had, as of our list right now, I mean, Doug Peterson, and I don't want Byron Leftwich because I think Tom Brady calls those shots for the most
What about
part.
Flores?
Tom Brady
Maybe,
calls
but
those
I'm
shots.
starting to read a lot more of the stuff that's coming out on him, and it sounds like he really needs to be involved in the GM stuff, and I don't know if we want another coach who's involved with the GM stuff again after Nagy.
But so that's coming off of his latest team, right, with Miami, and their GM has outlasted like the last 3 coaches. At some point in time, you know what I mean? The general manager is not letting the coach get what he necessarily needs. And if it's true with the whole Herbert and Tua thing, I mean,
Hey, the chef's got a
that's
shop for
something.
some of the groceries.
Yeah, I heard
he
that
really
one
messed
today
up
too.
If he took that was him. I mean,
Yeah, because if Weir wanted Tua and Flores wanted Herbert,
right.
and now you're seeing 2 years into it, which guy was playing better. Now, I do also believe that the Chargers were set up better for that.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
But if you put Tua on the Chargers and Herbert on the Dolphins, I don't know how much actually changes that, because we could be talking about Herbert regressing rather than progressing because he just didn't have the tools over there in Miami.
You're right. That's a great point, actually.
And you got Austin Eckler. And what does a great quarterback or a good quarterback benefit from? a healthy run game. The Dolphins have been dealing with Myles Gaskin and a lucky outburst, not lucky, a nice outburst of Duke Johnson this year.
And seen the same thing a number of years ago when Nick Saban was in Miami when they went with Dante Culpepper instead of getting Drew Brees, and look what happened there.
Saban said, bye. I'm on my way to Tuscaloosa, baby.
Well, I mean, like, obviously, as you guys have seen in Chicago, we've done a terrible job. I'm so glad Ryan Pace got fired. Like, that guy cheated the organization by having a job that long. Like, drafting Mitch, trading up and taking Mitch. He paid Mike Glennon like $18 million a year. He paid Nick Foles $60 million a year. He paid Dalton. Dalton was fine. I know Old School loves Dalton for some reason. I hope you're listening to Old School.
It's the state of Texas is really what it comes down to.
The Red Rocket. But, I mean, he's as average as it gets. And then it's like dude, you can't be an NFL GM and whiff 4 times in a row in a city that's never had a good quarterback. Like, since, like, I don't know, Harbaugh, Jim McMahon.
Sid Luckman as the guy Greenberg always brings up.
Yeah, and so, like, that, and then I think I would want one other guy I'd want us to consider, which pains me, is Nathaniel Hackett, the guy who is the offensive coordinator for the Packers, which I hate. It takes a lot of pride to admit that, but
hey, and if you steal him away from the Packers, at least he's your asset, and now he can't help beat you.
Yeah, that's true. He has the playbook.
and also brings a lot of insight, right, into who they've been looking at for the past however many years he's been there, 2015 or something like that. So, yeah, absolutely.
Because they've I mean, we're like 5-25 against them in the past 15 years. So,
do you think Harbaugh will go to Chicago?
I don't think so.
Do you think he'll go back to the NFL, or is he staying with Michigan?
I think he's gonna stay. I don't know. Maybe. Do you guys think he's gone? Or I don't think he cares. Is that money motivated? I think, like, getting to the playoff, he got that taste of it and beating Ohio State.
I think he's gonna stay, but if he needs to, I think he needs to come out and say it so that he can help with his recruiting. Because as long as there's questions out there, I don't think it's helping his cause.
Yeah, that's a great point.
All right, tell me what's going on down at Rib Crib again.
Spirit Nights, January 23rd and the 30th for North Bay Haven cheer team. They'll be there. And then Bike Night, February 1st, and I'll get back to everyone with Ribs and Rides.
Your Minute with Max, representing PRG and Rib Crib as well. Hey, Max, thanks so much for stopping in, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir. We're going to take a short break. When we get back, we'll have a audible appearance from Old School.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Colin Cowherd. You're not going to win in this league long-term with Tua, and it looks like Chris Greer, who drafted him, is more of a Tua fan, according to reports now coming up, than Flores is. Flores is the guy he looks around and goes, let's see, I used to be with New England. We had Brady. They won Super Bowls. Then he went to Tampa, and they win Super Bowls. And now Bill Belichick has Mac Jones. Not hard to figure out.
This is The Herd.
Weekdays 11 to 2, ESPN, Northwest Florida.
Safety is important, not just for you, but also for your family. Emerald Coast AMSL specializes in women's and children's safety and self-protection. They offer a variety of products from stun guns, striking tools, pepper sprays, including GPS-enabled sprays, personal alarms, safety whistles, and more. Give the gift of self-protection and contact Michelle and Rick today, 850-358-2810, or visit their website at emeraldcoastamsel.com. Independent Damsel Pro for Damsel in Defense.
Offered Tire and Service Center on Tyndall Parkway in Callaway is your authorized Goodyear and Michelin dealer.
Did you know that brake fluid absorbs moisture over time? Moisture contamination can lower your fluid's boiling point, leading to overheating and poor braking performance. Offered Tire and Service Center. We recommend having your brake fluid flushed every 2 years.
Offered Tire and Service Center on Tyndall Parkway in Callaway. Locally owned for the past 35 years and worth the drive from anywhere.
Hi, I'm Tracy, your diamond girl at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Shopping for the perfect diamond can be difficult, but that's why I've trained my staff to be helpful and to offer you a stress-free diamond experience. Pick your sparkle and use our easy layaway plan. Every woman deserves an exquisite diamond from your diamond girl at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. We don't work on commissions.
We work for smiles and I-dos.
So if you're tired of high-pressure salespeople, stop by and see us today at Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next? So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
Live from the Rib Crib Studio. Hot takes, the latest trades, in-depth interviews.
That is my reaction.
We break it down for you right here.
Very big springboard for the rest of my career.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
That's the problem right there.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We are back inside the Rib Crib Radio Room. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, and the Giants have made a decision. Joe Judge is out. Joe Judge is out with the Giants, so that's 7 teams now wide open without coaches in the NFL, and we probably got more to come. But let's get over, well, I guess this is your second minute with Max. 2 whole minutes with Max Delighten today, and I'm excited right now. He might be dipping out in the middle of this segment, but I got Old School on the line. Old School, what's going on? National champion.
Yeah, it was a.
Oh, you sound excited.
It was a good. It was a great. It was a great ending to a rough day. Let me just put it to you like that. But then, certainly, it don't feel very good. But it sure was fun watching the game last night. Quite a ball game. Fun to watch.
What are some things that stood out to you? And then actually, let's lead off with Boston Tim. Boston Tim wanted to know your approach to watching the game last night.
Well, my normal thing is I'm so superstitious that I don't want to jinx anything. So whenever there's a big play coming up or whatever, I'll go outside where I'm not watching. But it was so cold and whatever, and I didn't feel very good, so I watched the whole thing. I didn't miss a play. I got up one time, and that was when Ringo was running it back, and I jumped up and stood in the middle of the living room and just kept yelling, "Run it back! Run it back!"
So I think the only person affiliated with Georgia in the world that was saying "get down" last night was Kirby Smart, who was adamant, "Get down, get down, get down."
So is this going to change now how you're going to watch games because of the outcome of this game?
No, probably not. Probably not. I guess maybe one of the good things about when you feel like you're halfway near death is that you really, it was important to me. I wanted to see Georgia win, but it wasn't a matter. It wasn't that big a thing because I just felt so crummy. But it did make for, I enjoyed listening to all the post-game conferences and all the conversation with different players. I thought it was one of the best national championship games that we've had. It was like watching, for me, it was like watching 2 heavyweight fighters go at each other. Because you would get, one guy would kind of land a couple of punches and you would think, okay, Alabama's kind of got him going and, the tide is turning, and then all of a sudden Georgia would get some kind of great defensive stop and kind of change the momentum again, and then it would go the other way. Georgia would make a couple of good running plays, and you'd kind of think, okay, here they go. They're getting the running game going, and then, they would Alabama would make a good defensive stop or a good something, and so it just kept going back and forth. The one thing that I can say that I had in my mind was when they finished the first half, as bad as Georgia was offensively in the first half, to only be down by 3, I thought, well, if we can just play a better offensive second half, Georgia can win this game. And I hated it. I really did hate it when
Jameson Williams.
Jameson Williams got hurt. My heart ached for him. You just never want to see a player go down like that. I certainly think it was to Georgia's advantage longer had to fear him getting behind them. Really helped them from a defensive standpoint. But it was just it was a very rewarding night. You saw it. I think you saw it in David Pollock's eyes afterwards. If you have been a Bulldog fan for all these years, so many times, so close, so many times where you felt like this is the time it's going to happen for us, and then it doesn't. And particularly up against Alabama. It was, if you're going to win one, you want to take down your arch nemesis, and they've been our Achilles heel for a long time. So it was nice to see it that Georgia was able to get it done against Alabama. But it's still just it's still kind of hard to believe that it's actually happened. I'm happy for Kirby. I'm happy for all of those young men who fought so hard all of the season long, and such a great defensive performance, and then to be able to kind of wipe away the bitter taste from the SEC championship when they did not play very good defensively, and then to come back out and really put on a defensive performance that's going to be hard for anybody to top. You take a team like Alabama and you let them get into your
red zone
6 times, and you only give up, 18 points or whatever. I mean, 3 field goals and a touchdown. That's pretty good. I mean, that's some pretty good defense there.
And not only that, I think when they took Bryce Young down on the 2-point conversion, I think that really swung momentum back even further in Georgia's favor.
Yeah, I think that the thing that was interesting to me was when Stetson Bennett threw the incompletion, which they decided was a fumble, which I still don't think it was a fumble. It wasn't a fumble any more than Bryce Young's pass was a fumble.
I agree. I agree 10,000%. I mean, the slow motion, but it was like neither one of those were fumbles. And I would also go out to say that there was early in the game there was kick catch interference not called on Alabama, and then Georgia did it to Alabama, and it was called. I didn't like that.
But, it's just that's part of the game. But I didn't, whenever that happened, that's when, typically a Georgia team would kind of, oh, no, here we go again. But we talked about where they'd be psychologically strong enough to handle the adversity and then come back. And they did. I mean, immediately the drive following that turnover that turned into a touchdown for Alabama, then Stetson Bennett came out with 3 really good throws, took them right down the field for a touchdown. Everybody talks about, Alabama's number 1 wide receivers were not in, but, the guy that caught that touchdown pass for Georgia was a backup.
Yeah.
Because Georgia didn't have all of their star guys. Their star wide receiver only caught 1 pass.
Yeah, George Pickens.
Big pass.
It was a big pass, but it was but for them to be able to psychologically withstand that blow and then come back and run the ball, Zeus right up the middle, and then finish it off with Brock Bowers, it was sweet. And then you're thinking, okay, okay, defense, you got to have to do it. And then when Ringo got the interception, then it was just celebration time. And I'll be honest with you, my age, it's embarrassing to say, but I was jumping up and down like an 18-year-old kid.
That is awesome.
And it was fun.
That is awesome. Can't wait to have you back in the studio with us, Old School. We'll be praying for you. Hope that you're getting better. Thanks for mustering up the energy to give us your thoughts on the game last night. You're a national champion. Go Dogs, Old School.
Go Dogs.
Yes, sir. We'll talk to you soon. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Right after the Afternoon Underdogs tonight, we'll get you to Paul Feinbaum for a little bit, and then Alabama and Auburn will have the pregame 7:30, the tip at 8 in Alabama tonight. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs. Short break. We'll be right back with Defend Your Stance.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Right now is your chance to win in the Grand Slam of Cash. Your code word is...
Kids.
Enter the code word at ESPNPC.com or play on the ESPN Northwest Florida app. 2 ways to play this national contest.
$1,000 in cash.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
My weather forecast overnight, mostly clear, chilly, 35 to 42, light east winds. Light east winds Wednesday, it'll be partly and mostly sunny, about 55 to 62. And it'll be around 62 Thursday, mostly sunny. Friday should be mostly sunny in the mid-60s or so, chance of showers over the course of the weekend. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Mid-South Lumber, best little lumber yard in Panama City and Youngstown. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
Hello, Rick Vossen with Stormore Portable Buildings, located at Panama City Mall on Highway 231 side. If you're shopping for a portable building, whether it be a portable building for storage, whether it be for office space, a garage, or a cabin out on the lake, Stormore's got pretty much anything you could use. From an 8 to 16 foot wide, from 12 feet long to 60 feet long. That's Stormore Portable Buildings, Panama City Mall, Highway 231.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Jin Jin Super King Buffet. Have you been to Jin Jin Super King Buffet? It's not your average Jin Jin. They're open 365 days per year, and you can enjoy their hibachi grill, fresh sushi, mouth-watering crab legs by order, and you're gonna love their new Cajun selection. New choices are added often and always fresh. Bring the family out to Jin Jin Super King Buffet for your holiday dinner. Next to Wonderworks at 9802 Front Beach Road on Panama City Beach. Open regular hours on Christmas Eve Day and New Year's Eve Day.
Let All About Garage Doors service your garage door today. All About Garage Doors has 24/7 service at no extra charge. Right now at All About Garage Doors, they will service your garage door starting at $99. And that comes with a free set of rollers. Yes, you heard right. They'll service your garage door starting at $99 plus a free set of rollers. Call All About Garage Doors now. 850-842-9188. Veteran owned and operated.
Damsel in Defense presents Defend Your Stance. Got an opinion? Time to defend it. It's the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
You listen to the Afternoon Underdogs. This is Defend Your Stance, brought to you by Emerald Coast Damsel, Independent Damsel Pro for Damsel in Defense. They're going to be in Pensacola this weekend, followed by Jacksonville, Fort Walton, and Tallahassee. Each weekend, a new spot. Man, you get to travel all around Florida.
Yeah, I don't travel as much as Michelle, but yeah, we get around. Columbus, Georgia is about the farthest north. About the farthest west, obviously we go is Pensacola, and east is Jacksonville. So yeah, that's our stomping grounds.
There we go. I pity the fool who doesn't use our tool. That's Caveman Rick. Michelle Nowalinsky does a great job. Emerald Coast Damsel, Independent Damsel Pro for Damsel in Defense. Who's the worst team in the playoffs? Defend your stance, Caveman Rick.
Well, if I was Barrett Townsend, I guess I would have to say Tennessee Titans, but I'm not him.
He never said that they were the worst in the playoffs.
He said they were worst one seed, so
Ever.
I mean, basically. So, I mean, like, what else? I mean, anyway.
Well, he's going to be on the show with us this Friday, I believe,
cool.
So we can get into some more defending of that.
Yeah, well, that'd be interesting. But for me, I hate to say it, but it's probably my team. They've kind of backed into the playoffs, if you will, and that loss against Dallas, even though we were missing a bunch of our players.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as talent goes, I'm sure a lot of people would argue that we're probably the worst team that's actually in. Just because even like a team like the Steelers that kind of found their way in because of a bunch of other people losing, basically. They just have bigger names. Tomlin's been there for a while. He's established. Obviously, Big Ben's been there for 18 years. He's won Super Bowls. So because of that, I hate to say it, but it's probably my team, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Who you got, Boston Sim?
I think unfortunately I have to concur. I would have to say typically, judging by the stats, by looking at the season, that it would be the Steelers. But your last couple of games, maybe your last possible game, you're seeing what these guys are coming out and doing for him, and they're really putting themselves on the line, which they really didn't see them do before he made the comment about this being most likely his last season with the Steelers. And so I agree with you with that, Caveman, and that's probably the big reason why that's the difference maker in those two teams being the two worst teams, and why the Eagles probably are.
Well, it's close because I think that's what the argument comes down to, really, the Eagles or the Steelers. But if we're playing at the Link, if it's the Eagles and the Steelers, I like the Eagles. If we're playing in Hines, I like the Steelers. So really, it's a home field advantage type pick for me.
So neutral field.
Neutral field. That one's tough for me. The romance of Big Ben, but Jalen Hurts is, if his ankle is going to be healthy for that game, that he's such a wild X factor.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
definitely.
Like, because there could be a game where he just doesn't do very much, and then there's other games where it's like, dude, why'd you ever leave Alabama?
Or you're
How
saying
did Tua get your spot?
not do very much. How about him just cost the game by like throwing 2 or 3 picks in a game, or a pick and a couple fumbles, or just whatever? But yeah, exactly.
So, I want to say the Steelers, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go with that. But you could almost make the case for the Raiders being one of the worst teams in the NFL when it comes to or in the playoffs when it comes to personnel. But just the way that they fought game 1 for them this year, right? Monday Night Football, I believe, taking on the Ravens. How do they win? Overtime, last second field goal. How do they finish the season? Against the Chargers in overtime, last second field goal. They're battle tested 5 times this year, so it's hard. Like, I don't think that they got the players, the names that just jump off of the paper to you, but they've got something about them that's just ready to get down and ready to rumble, So the Steelers is going to be my answer. Let's go to the worst loss from Sunday. Worst loss from Sunday. Unless it's going to be the Colts, then give me 2. Who you got, Boston Tim?
Well, I mean, can anybody argue that it is absolutely the Colts? You know what I mean? That was definitely the huge.
That's the easy answer,
yeah,
obviously.
right? I mean,
that's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah,
we should try for something a little bit, more out of reach.
Yeah, more out of reach. For me,
How about the Patriots?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's one of the ones for sure. The Patriots with that loss to the Dolphins, and they could have won the AFC East, but didn't. And you just kind of continue that streak of losing to the Dolphins, especially when you're playing down south in Miami. I'm going to go with the Cardinals. You had a chance to clinch. The 49ers get it done for you, and you lose to the Seahawks, which is the worst team in the division. Y'all started out, 7-0? So for me, it's the Cardinals because you just got done beating the Cowboys by 3 points and kind of gave yourself some relevance again, and then you lay an egg with a chance to win the division. I understand you're still going to the playoffs, so it's not as ugly as what the Colts is, but let me get the Cardinals.
And the Rams are arguably could be on that list as well.
Yeah, I think those 3 are probably the top ones for sure.
Let's go with, all right, we got a nice little slate of playoff games. Which NFL playoff contest are you most intrigued by as of now? Don't use your own team. So who you got, Boston Tim?
Oh, darn.
But you also,
I'm actually surprisingly intrigued by the Chiefs and Steelers game. I think they put a ridiculous spread on that game, knowing the possibilities of what Ben and the guys on the team can do with it being his grand finale here, his last real hurrah, the run that he's going to go for that, really puts him out in retirement. How does he want to finish, and how is he going to finish? And I think that 12 points, is almost disrespectful, So I think that one might be the most surprising. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if the Steelers won the game straight up.
Love it. What about for you?
For me,
I mean, obviously, it's going to be the Eagles and the Dallas, but number 2.
The Bill. I'm talking about this upcoming weekend or the one that just went by?
This one coming up.
Yeah, this one coming up. I'd go with the Bills and New England. I mean, that game's going to be. They're saying the temperature outside maybe like minus 8 or 9,
6, 8,
or something like that. When the
so it's going to be
happens.
resemblant of.
I don't know about the wind, so you might have another Mac Jones game with like 3 passes attempts. A lot of rushing on the ground. Obviously, one of those games that every time you get hit, you're gonna feel it 10 times worse because it's gonna be so probably bitter cold out.
Right, and
so that's gonna be a good one to watch.
Thankfully for us, 3 of our 4 running backs are looking really solid right now. So I'm excited about the possibilities of it being a highly unbalanced, heavy rush game.
I really am interested in the Eagles and the Cowboys game. Get these teams at full health and let's see, because, Dallas got the better of them when teams were healthy early on in the season. But the Raiders and the Bengals, I don't know what it is about that matchup, but I'm ready to watch that one. What you got, Boston Tim?
Well, it goes back to the first one. You bring up the Cowboys and the Eagles, and the first question that we brought up was who's the worst team in the playoffs. I would argue that the Cowboys are probably the worst best team, the worst good team,
the worst division winner.
Yeah, in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? I just don't think not even necessarily just this team, but in the history of the last 20 years of Dallas, they're just not a great playoff contender, right? They've only won 3 games in the last 21 seasons. So, based on that alone, they just fail when it comes to the big games. And, we've seen Dak do that. We've seen all of Dallas do that over the course of the last 20
It
years.
is the Buccaneers, though, not the Cowboys.
For what?
This coming weekend.
No, I'm sorry. That's the
Oh, no, that is right.
It was
yeah,
this past weekend.
No, 100%.
That's why I was confused for a moment. I was trying to make sure everybody else
Oh,
out
the
there
Eagles ain't got
knows.
no shot then.
Nah, we're going against Tom Brady. We've beat him.
No, y'all ain't got to beat Tom Brady.
The last time we played him in the playoffs, we beat him.
Yeah, that could be factual. It's not happening this year, though. It's not happening this year.
Hey, we can run the ball. Let's, we're going down. It's going to be a warm weather game. We can slow the clock, and the best way to, win against somebody like that, like you're saying, keep the ball out of his hands.
Got some great games coming up this weekend, and you'll be able to hear every single NFL playoff game right here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're going to take a short break, and when we get back, it'll be time to pick our 5 at 5.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
You can't miss a moment. This is Greeny.
But this was a lost season for the Jets. The general manager did a terrible job. The coaches are in completely over their heads. And the young quarterback they're building everything around certainly didn't develop. This was a lost year for him. They're starting over, as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing there. I did not see a single thing this year that makes you excited to build upon it.
Weekday afternoons from 2 till 4. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hi folks, it's Tracy with Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Did you know that we have a master jeweler right here in the store? That's right, he has over 30 years experience in the art of repairing jewelry. Most repairs are done within 2 business days, so don't send your jewelry off for 6 weeks. Bring it to us at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. We size rings and solder chains. We can reset your diamond into new settings and even custom design. You'll get your jewelry back quickly and looking as good as new. Tracy's Fine Jewelry, Bay County's trusted jeweler for over 45 years.
Golf Plus is your premier golf shop on the Gulf Coast. Not a big box or a chain store, but a local store with golf experts to serve you. An amazing array of demo and fitting products, plus a professional repair shop that can handle anything from a basic re-grip to a full set of re-shafts and everything in between. Golf Plus has locations in Dothan and Panama City Beach to serve you. Come see them today for all your golf needs. Located next to Firefly at the Shops at Edgewater. Call 850-249-2726.
Coram Steak and Egg, home of the world-famous Heavenly Hash, has been family-owned and operated since 1986. Open daily 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Coram Steak and Egg prides itself in offering fresh, never-frozen favorites at family-friendly prices. Come in and check out our daily lunch and dinner specials. Coram Steak and Egg at 804 South Tyndall Parkway, where you never leave hungry. Also available on DoorDash and Grubhub.
The College Football National Championship plays here. Powered by Pepsi. WGSX Lynn Haven, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Small business owners of Bay County, are you aware of the recent changes in the credit card industry that could affect how much you pay for credit card processing? With over 30 years experience right here in Bay County, Merchant Management Group is ready to help your business take advantage of these changes and in some cases eliminate all fees for accepting credit card. Other businesses have already made the change. Call Merchant Management Group today to schedule a no obligation appointment. 850-747-0664.
Live from the Rib Crib Studio. They said it couldn't be done. The Afternoon Underdogs are live.
They say it can't be done. Are we going to do what they say can't be done?
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Rib Crib Radio Room. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes. We've got Caveman Rick, Boston Tim in the building, and this is the 5 at 5. If you're looking for a great career, Arrow Pest Control is looking for technicians. Go to Arrow Pest Control, ask for Mac. He'll have your back. You'll get a great career there. Had some hockey games we picked last night. The Boston Bruins with an explosion over the Capitals, winning that game 7-3. Also, in other news for the Boston Bruins, they re-signed Tuukka Rask to a one-year deal. So that's good news for the Bruins in their goaltending situation. The Kings took down the Rangers 3-1. I did terrible last night.
So did I.
I think me and you both went 1-4, and then you went 3-2. So we had the Hornets take down the Bucks 103-99, and then the Celtics. We all swept out the NBA games. The Celtics took down the Pacers in overtime 101-98, and then the national championship game, Georgia over Alabama 33-18. We're picking another Alabama game tonight against their arch rival in the SEC, Auburn Tigers. The number 4 Auburn Tigers taking on Alabama tonight in Alabama. But before we get to that, let's talk about Caveman. Eagles in Tampa Bay. Tell me real quick again how the Eagles can take down Tom Brady, because I just don't believe it.
I mean, they can. All they need to do is do what they been doing. Run the football. Keep the ball out of Tom Brady's hands. Go in there with your game plan. Execute. Jalen Hurts has to go in and make no mistakes. The defense has been playing pretty great. Secondary, we got Darius Slay out there. Tom Brady doesn't have his usual assortment of weapons. We know, Antonio Brown's in a straitjacket in a padded room probably someplace right now.
He's hanging
Mike
out with
Evans.
Kanye West yesterday.
Was he really?
Oh, yeah.
Mike Evans is banged up. Gronk, he's up there in age. Who's to say that he can't go out there and something happen to him in this game and then he'd be done or something like that? So, just because we're the 7th seed and like I said, we're probably the worst team in the playoffs, doesn't mean we can lose this game, or we're going to lose this game,
Any given
going
Saturday.
in there with faith, and there's probably a 70% chance we end up with the L, but that doesn't mean we're not going to go down there. We're not going to try and give it our best. So let's see what they can do. I know I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be rooting for my birds, and fly, Eagles, fly, baby.
And the little kids in the stands will be utilizing the birds.
Well, this is in Tampa, not Philly. So
y'all try. Some little kid is definitely going to be throwing out the double birds.
I love a good fan's perspective, man. You know what I'm saying? I love that outlook, man.
But
love your team, no matter what. Even if it's highly unlikely and improbable, you still have to love your squad, man.
Let's get back to our scheduled segment. Number 4, Auburn at number 24, Alabama. What you got, Boston Tim? Who gets the dub tonight?
I like Auburn to go in there. They jumped up 5 spots in the AP poll this week from 9 to 4. I think that's huge for them. It's been a while since they've been in the top 5, so good for them. Alabama, we know, is a solid team, but I do like Auburn to continue on the streak that they're on.
Okay, man, Rick.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat with you. Definitely sweaty Bruce Pearls. As long as he can keep himself out of trouble and keep that team clean, they're going to keep winning. So Auburn.
I also like the over in that game.
Ooh, what's it set at?
156.5.
156. Man, the SEC has been scoring some points when it comes to in-conference play. I'm gonna roll with the Tide. This could be a bad night for Alabama fans. You lose the national championship and then you lose to Auburn. It could absolutely go that way, but Bama needs to bounce back from their loss to Missouri. They'll get it done tonight against Auburn. Number 19, Texas Tech, staying in-state to take on the number 1 team in the land. I'm talking about the Baylor Bears. Caveman Rick, how do you think this one plays out?
Baylor Bears, number 1 team in the nation. They've been playing lights out. Texas Tech, I don't think they're going to have a chance. I don't think it's going to be ugly, but Baylor wins this one, I think, kind of easy.
I got to agree with you. I got to go with the Baylor Bears. To me, they look destined to repeat almost, and we might even see the same exact championship that we did last year, which it was a good one anyways, right? But Baylor and Gonzaga. Boston Tim, who do you like out of Texas Tech and Baylor?
I have to agree with you guys, and you can't really do anything about the streak that they're on until you can't bet against the streak that they're on until the streak is over, right? I mean, they get 6 games into last season, 15 games to start this season. They look unbelievable, and the vast majority of the games aren't really even relatively close. So not only will I take them, but I would also take the spread in this particular game.
Ooh, let's get over to number 15, Iowa State at number 9, Kansas. This is tough. Kansas let me down over the weekend, And I'm liking the type of ball that Iowa State is playing right now. So give me the Cyclones on the road tonight up against Kansas. What you got, Tim?
If we're doing non-spreads here, so I agree with you that I like Kansas. I'm, however, taking in the betting world, I'm taking Iowa with the points. 13 points is a lot of points, and of course I can push that up to 19. So I'm certainly not going to think they're going to lose by 20 points. They're both only 2-loss teams, looking really, really solid this year. So I'm going to take Kansas straight up.
We're going to start a segment here soon. I don't know if it'll be this month or next month, maybe gearing up in between. Now, it's got to be in the middle of basketball and hockey season, but Teach Me How to Bet It by Boston Tim. And Boston Tim will give us an educated or an education on betting. So I'm going. Who are you going with? Kansas?
Yes, in a straight up bet, I'm taking Kansas.
All right, I'm going Iowa State. K-Man Rick?
Give me the Cyclones, man. The Cyclones will ground the Jayhawks.
Ooh, I like that. Blackhawks, Blue Jackets, NHL. What do you like there, Boston Tim?
I think it's going to be a closer game than we expect, and then usually on a close game, like I said yesterday, it goes down to the goalies. If the goalies are relatively close, which in this particular game they are not, but if it were to come down to just the goalies, I would always take the whole home team. But in this case, the goalies are not close. I think the goalie over with Chicago is a little bit better. So for this particular reason, I like the goalie. I like the Chicago Blackhawks.
Okay, man, Rick.
For me, it's kind of simple. I just think overall the Columbus Blue Jackets have a better overall roster. Yes, the better goaltender is Marc-Andre Fleury of the Blackhawks. Not to mention,
that's so crazy thinking of him being with the Blackhawks.
Right. Well, and towards the late time of his career, he's had some movement. He's been around, but he's the first NHL goaltender to beat all 32 NHL teams, which I thought was kind of interesting, and I just saw that yesterday. But regardless, I still like Columbus Blue Jackets to come away with the win.
Yeah, I'm giving me the Blue Jackets too. They're just a tough-nosed team, not having necessarily the record. Neither one of these teams have the record that they would expect, but they still got plenty of room, plenty of time for a playoff push. And this spread really keeps dropping. Columbus Blue Jackets now just a -105
Both
favorite.
These teams have actually had a lot of movement in the past half a season, I guess, with roster personnel as well, so that makes a big difference too.
Let's get to the NBA. Klay Thompson will be playing again tonight, likely mirror the amount of minutes that he had in his return to the hardwood floor. But he's going up against Ja Morant tonight. Who do we like out of the Warriors and the Grizzlies? It's on you, K-Man Rick.
I think tonight I would have to say the Warriors come out to play. And they beat the Grizzlies and Ja Morant.
Ooh. I'm going to go with the home team here and Ja Morant and play a little bit of spoiler to the Golden State Warriors getting Klay Thompson back, even though this isn't his first game. But give me Ja Morant. He going to jam tonight.
I love Klay Thompson coming back, and he really rounds out the squad for them, doesn't he? You know what I mean? Now there'll be 4 guys now that'll be averaging double digits, with Jordan Poole coming out looking really good this season, 17, almost 18 points he's averaging. And again, Wiggins looking great, just under 20 points, and of course Steph Curry averaging 27. And to have Klay and Draymond and everybody in full health, you can't ever bet against those guys, and I never ever will as long as everybody's healthy. I'm going with the Warriors.
Yeah, it's not a bad pick at all. I'm just reaching out on a limb. Let's talk a little bit about the Senior Bowl. I don't know if we're going to be able to get tickets out like we have in the past. Last year there wasn't a Senior Bowl, but the year before we did provide some giveaways and tickets for people to go check out this Senior Bowl. And this year it's going to be, I think it's going to be great TV, as always when you watch this game. And it really, like Justin Herbert, without that Senior Bowl, not saying that he doesn't produce the way that he's produced to this point, but I don't know if he gets drafted as high as what he did without the Senior Bowl. So you're going to have Lions head coach Dan Campbell and Jets head coach Robert Saleh. Well, they're going to promote their assistants on their staffs into leadership roles for the week of the game, because the head coaches, this is going to be the first time in the All-Star Games history that the head coaches are actually going to be serving in an advisory role. So they're going to take their assistants, they put them into leadership roles, and that's going to be made to offer assistants development opportunities and as a way to showcase those coaches in front of other NFL teams. There's also going to be 4 coaches from HBCU, historically black colleges and universities. And so that's going to be so the NFL and HBCU can make contact in hopes that it leads to future opportunities. I love that idea. And it's also going to be the first time that a Jets staff has coached a Senior Bowl since 1979. The Lions, if you remember, 2 years ago, the very one with Herbert, Matt Patricia was the team's head coach at that point in time. So The Lions did it 2 years ago. And both of these teams, what's important here for these teams to be the head of the coaching staffs, they both have 2 picks in the first round. So this is extremely important for 2 franchises that are really aching and trying to build back.
Do you happen to know how they determine the coaching staffs? Because, Sid, obviously the Jets haven't done it since the late 70s where, the Detroit Lions have done it just recently. Obviously, you can't be in the playoffs right now. So that eliminates a handful of teams, but that's kind of interesting. You would think maybe bottom dwellers, like it would be like the Hard Knocks kind of a thing with the Jets and the Lions this year. But
yeah, here's how it goes. Google is an amazing tool. I was really surprised that I'd be able to find the answer that quick. So the staffs are determined in cooperation with the NFL. The teams with the lowest winning percentage that season usually get the first opportunity to coach in the game, but that's only if their staff is intact. Head coach, staff, majority of the staff's got to be intact. And so then I'm sure that it goes like the NFL reaches out, hey, would you like to be? And if you're the Lions and the Jets in this case, and you've got 2 first-round picks, you better jump at that opportunity. And both of these guys are coming off their first year.
Yeah, definitely, interview a lot of these guys or get to know them. That way, hopefully, you can make a sound pick. Now, what we've seen over the course of history with these 2 teams, they don't make sound picks. So hopefully this will help them out.
Brit Centennial Roofing said that the Cowboys and the 49ers, I think, are, I believe this was the question of who's the worst team in the playoffs. That's his answer to that. Corey, Ohio State Corey, says Ben's not done. So we'll see about that, man. Hey, I think the whole NFL world, if you're not a Chiefs fan and you see the Chiefs go down, that's just a good thing. And there's so much parity in the NFL all year long. That's what makes these playoffs even that much more exciting because really there's not one, even me sitting here saying I don't think that Philadelphia's got a shot in the dark to be able to take down the Buccaneers. That doesn't make it true. Anything can happen in any one of these games. And we're going to talk more about the games from last week in the next segment.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be like the game we watched last night. It could come down to the health of the players, right? We know Godwin's out, and while Evans has had an unbelievable career thus far, breaking the wide receiver record for the first person in history to have 8 consecutive seasons to start their career with 1,000+ receiving yards. But if he goes down, you know what I'm saying? Gronkowski's never really 100%. Can the team really be carried without them?
What about Tom Brady? I mean, he could go down. I mean, this guy has
in a football game?
Survived, like a pretty long timeline without, end up taking a serious injury.
He might be the most handsome cockroach in the history of life.
So I got to admit, in a long enough timeline, something's going to happen and something's going to catch up to you. And, just a matter of time, you're going to run into the wrong guy or he's going to run into you and you get folded up like a banquet chair and it might be game over after that.
Inevitably, you're absolutely right about that. And I was going to say earlier how much I really enjoyed and honestly always had to agree with the vast majority of your takes because you're just well thought out and you put your opinions in very well. But then you just ruined it on that one. So you brought the Philly out and now
I have been known to be a Tom
out,
Brady hater.
There's about to be some hate going on in here too, my friend.
So we're going to take a break so that none of you guys can see the hate that's going to be going on. I'm expecting a phone call from someone who was at the game last night. We'll see if we get that when we get back. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. If not, we'll be talking about some NFL games from Week 18.
My weather forecast overnight, mostly clear, chilly, 35 to 42, light east winds. Light east winds Wednesday, it'll be partly and mostly sunny, about 55 to 62. And it'll be around 62 Thursday, mostly sunny. Friday should be mostly sunny in the mid-60s or so, chance of showers over the course of the weekend. This weather forecast has been brought to you by All About Garage Doors, your garage door repair specialist. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Auburn basketball invades Tuscaloosa Tuesday night.
Yes! Nothing but the bottom of it for Wendell Gray with the one-hand hammer!
It's the Tigers and Tide in a battle of ranked rivals.
Oh, he made it! Holy
Jabari for 3.
Nice!
That'll put your lights out. My good coverage begins at 7:30 Central on your home for the Auburn Sports Network.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
Hi, this is Coach James Hale, here to tell you about the best car wash on the beach. Blue Sky Express Car Wash. Number one, they're locally owned. You know Matt and his employees will do a great job. Number two, Blue Sky Car Wash recycles their water. Number three, they have the latest technology available. It does an incredible job on your vehicle. Blue Sky Express Car Wash on Back Beach Road is right near Home Depot. Tell them Coach Hale sent you.
So, how's the new job?
Love it, but it's not just a job, it's a career.
Life insurance? Love?
I told you Woodman Life is really active in the community, right? They support all kinds of community improvement projects. How's your job, by the way?
Don't ask.
You can love what you do, too. Call me, Lance Myers, your Panama City area Woodman Life recruiting sales manager at 850-769-9212 to learn more.
Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society of Omaha, Nebraska. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
The College Football National Championship plays here. Coverage starts tonight at 6. Right after David Old School Boston Tim and the Afternoon Underdogs get you home. Inside the Rip Crib Radio Room. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes. We've got Caveman Rick, Boston Tim's in the building. Who should be most valuable player, Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady?
Neither. Cooper Kupp.
I absolutely agree, and please let it be Cooper Kupp. I really, really hope it's Cooper Kupp. It's vacation time if it is.
I mean,
like, right now.
If he's not, then when do you give it to a wide receiver? I mean, he basically just about won the Triple Crown this year. There's probably not going to have another wide receiver have the kind of season that he had this year. So why not give it to the guy? You know, it's perplexing to me. I think just because he's not a quarterback.
I actually, my vote still goes to, as much as I would love Cooper Kupp, I think he's a long shot, and I just don't think that the people will give it to him. And of those two quarterbacks, of course, I like Brady. He's my favorite, but it's hard to look at Rodgers' numbers and see the 4 interceptions and think that that's not going to win him the crown. But for me, the higher percentage and the better-looking quarterback I thought all year was Joe Burrows, and he's the only quarterback we talked about the other day with a 70% completion percentage in all of the NFL this year. And then on top of that, if he weren't for the last game of the season, he would have been the number 2 yards, total yards for the year. He would have been over probably 4,800. He looked really, really good this year. For me, I think it's Joe.
Wow, man. All right, we'll continue that conversation here in a second. Let's get to the phone line. We've got Tyler Bishop on the line with us. Go ahead, Tyler.
What's going on, guys? Me and my brother just touched Jack down in from Indy. We were at the game last night. Go Dogs is all I got to say about that.
Dude, tell me about the moment when, especially after the Ringo interception, and it pretty much solidified that you guys were going to be national champions. What was the atmosphere like that with all of the Georgia fans?
I tell you, I've never seen anything quite like that. We had a couple guys around us that we were just, cheering with all game long. And, I don't even know if any of us actually watched the run back. We saw the interception, and I think we all just started jumping and hugging and grabbing these guys like we had known them for 30 years. But we had bet them, 2 hours ahead of time. Grown men started crying. It was the craziest moment I've ever seen. I've been to some fun sports games, but that was by far the most, that stadium had to have been probably 65-35, maybe even closer to 70-30. It was red and black all downtown Indianapolis, and it was loud in that stadium when he picked it off. It was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before.
Dude, such a moment. I'm so excited for you guys. And that's another thing about your fan base. We experienced LSU having a dominant season a couple years ago and winning the championship, and how the fan base kind of acted after the championship. I guess after so many years of seeing Alabama do it, you want to poke the bear a little bit. But last night, and all day today, the Georgia fans have just handled this with such class, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of us have. I don't know. I'm not gonna swear for it, but no, it's been. I mean, it's 41 years in the making, and I mean that was every rival fan base's favorite joke. Is anytime, especially right now with how well Kirby has done, and even Rick, had some good runs in him, and it was just always, oh, you haven't won a championship since 1980, so blah blah blah, and all this other crap. Oh, Georgia Tech's won a national title more recently. Well, all that they can take it and shove it because 2021, baby. The year of the dog.
The year of the dog. What a day just for the state of Georgia in general, with all of the talk of if you're from Atlanta, you're not going to get it done in the postseason, or if you're from Georgia, you're not going to get it done in the postseason. Well, they can put all of that to rest, and for Kirby to be able to do it against Saban, just plain amazing.
Every major narrative that people had against Kirby, he went to the national title with Rick's players his second year. He couldn't beat Saban. Georgia couldn't beat Alabama. Kirby couldn't develop players. Here he is, a roster full of his guys. Probably going to send 12 guys, 13 guys in the draft this year. It's going to be a heck of a year. And basically every major narrative you could, try to spin against Kirby being a top 3 head coach in all of college football just went out the window last night when Ringo picked off that pass.
Man, what was your favorite moment from the game last night? Or not even just from the game, just from your experience of being up there in Indy?
Honestly, we sat in the stadium for, 30, 45 minutes after, the clock hit 0. They do the trophy and all that. We just sat there and by we, everybody had seen. There had to have been 30, 40,000 people still in that stadium, it felt like. 30, 45 minutes after the game, just sitting there taking it all in. Nobody that was wearing red and black wanted to miss a second of that celebration. And we were just, you're leaving the stadium and everybody just freaking out. And even waiting for a Uber in the hotel parking lot or hotel lobby right next to the stadium, you just have people be like, "We're national champions, baby. It happened. We're here. It's done." And I think just how legitimately excited everybody's been, and to never, good majority have never really felt that or never felt that in their adult life. And it's feels great. I know a lot of them probably Braves fans and maybe fans of other teams, but college football in the South hits different.
Oh man, it's way different.
I think winning that title is just different.
Dude, I'm so excited for Georgia fans. So you're a national champion as a Georgia Bulldog, and your Cincinnati Bengals are in the playoffs. Well, what is that game going to look like against the Raiders?
Hey, man, it's going to be a fun one, especially based on that Sunday night game with the Chargers when they had 13 fourth down conversions. It felt like. You put Joe Burrow against a defense giving up that kind of stuff. I think it's gonna be pretty fun. I think it's gonna come down to which defense can make a stop or two. I think both offenses are gonna move the ball. Both quarterbacks are pretty good. And I know Boston Toon was saying that Burrow is his MVP candidate. He's had a heck of a year. I think it's going to be who can come down and make those 1 or 2 stops. And I think being at home in the cold may be the difference, kind of like that Michigan-Ohio State game. That cold made a little bit of a difference. And you could argue maybe the less talented team won in that game, but hey, it's football. Take it with everything it's got.
It's football, man. Enjoy being a national championship. So excited for the Georgia Bulldogs, and we got to get you on the set sometime soon, man, to do a Fan Friday with us.
Sounds good, man.
Yes, sir. Take it easy. Tyler Bishop was at the game last night. Had to been.
Congrats, Tyler. And that's got to be a cool experience to go there, to go to an event like that and see your team win. Not like right around where you live. You're traveling, outside of where your comfort zone is, meeting some cool people, probably maybe some relationships you started, yesterday that might grow into something, more positive down the road.
That's a great point, but I can't help but thinking about the people who work at the arena. If Alabama had won that national championship last night, you don't get the 30, 45,000 people sitting afterwards and basking in that. That's why I love it so much for Georgia. The motto for the SEC is it just means more. It meant more to Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs last night, and it showed. And Stetson Bennett, when Ringo picked that pass off and the tears started to drop, he couldn't really even hold in his emotions anymore. Dude, I don't know if he's going to be an NFL quarterback. He's got that size issue Boston Tim was talking about earlier. People have put those type of rumors to bed before, a la Drew Brees being one of the main ones, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. The list goes on and on. I don't know if he has the same mobility as those other guys, but he got a national championship for a team that he's been a fan of his whole life as a walk-on, fighting through Justin Fields, JT Daniels, especially all year this year,
Fromm.
Jamie Newman. Exactly. The list goes on and on and on for Stetson Bennett. Just so excited.
I think it really moved his draft stock substantially by coming out and performing the way that he
Yeah,
did.
that's what I'm
also,
saying. That'll definitely help him, getting drafted.
I absolutely
getting the win.
I think it moves him, if not from the middle third round to mid to higher second round, and with the lack of really strong quarterbacks that we have, you might be surprised because of the championship and the way he performed. You may even see him, bottom of the first round. It's a possibility.
Maybe
I'd be very surprised, but
he'll be a work in progress, and maybe
Agreed.
something a couple years down the road after he gets drafted, you might see him actually have a decent career in the NFL. We'll see what what ends up happening, but the win will erase some doubts some people might have had in their minds about his future in the NFL.
Agreed.
I love it, man. All right, so let's talk about this San Francisco LA Rams. I'm going through the list here. I'm like, which game do I want to talk about? Let's talk about that Rams and 49ers game. 49ers were on the road, but somewhat like Georgia last night, packed SoFi Stadium out, and there was a majority of 49ers fans over Rams fans, which should not be happening in a Week 17 game when your team could clinch the division, did clinch the division, even with the loss. But what did you guys see from San Francisco? How will they match up with Dallas?
I think San Francisco is basically the Tennessee Titans of the NFC. I mean, they have a coach in Shanahan that basically has a system, or he has an idea of mind, an identity of what he wants his team to be. They go out there regardless of who they have available on their roster. They go out there and execute the game plan. They don't deviate, no matter if they're down in the game or if they're up in the game. And they let the results happen, as they may. And most of the time, they end up winning by the record, and they're in the playoffs. So they did what they had to do. The Rams have been a bit of a mystery. I mean, ever since Robert Woods went down, that team has just been a mess. And it's hard to believe that a guy like that could basically make that big of a difference on your team. He maybe was the catalyst, the straw that stirs the drink, if you will, or whatnot. But they just I don't think they're going to do well in the playoffs, actually, the Rams. I hate to say that, because of the season that they did have. So, yeah, give me San Francisco. You're talking San Francisco and Dallas. I like San Francisco's chances in this game.
Ooh, Boston Sam.
I mean, I agree with you. I was saying it earlier. They're just not statistically and historically, they're not a solid playoff team over the course of the last 2 decades. I think they've only had 3 playoff appearances, and I don't think they advanced very well in either of them, in any of them. So, historically thinking, in the way that the teams have just been playing, yes, they've knocked off some teams, but never really any good quality squads. I think San Francisco does the opposite. They play a lot of close games, and they do knock off the good squads, and I think they have the opportunity to do that in the playoffs.
And by the way, too, the winner of this game, they haven't played in the playoffs since I believe it was like 94, 95.
94.
Has won the Super Bowl. So not to say that the winner of this game is going to go on and win the Super Bowl, but they have history in the playoffs playing one another, and usually that history ends up coming down to some good football games and making some history.
I have a feeling that this is going to be one of the more watched. Oh, maybe that is what Brit Centennial Roofing was texting Cowboys and 49ers. That's the most the most intriguing playoff game to him. That makes a lot of sense to me because I think it's going to have more eyes on it than most of the other games. Really looking forward to that 49ers-Cowboys game. I think that the 49ers, because of the run game being more explosive, Elijah Mitchell, kind of like Raheem Mostert, just coming out of nowhere to be the lead dog for the 49ers. Brandon Ayuk has been a very painfully slow process to really become that number 1 type receiver, even though it's really Deebo Samuel, but Brandon Ayuk has got the talent to be that. His trajectory, his progression in these last 3 or 4 weeks has been important. But with Jimmy G being the quarterback of the 49ers, we know that when Jimmy G is leading the 49ers, they're playing good football majority of the time. So as long as if he can be healthy, if that thumb can work for him in the playoffs, I like the 49ers in the first round against Dallas at Jerry's World. No doubt about it. Detroit, are they crazy? Are the Detroit Lions crazy for winning that ball? I mean, winning that game, because with the win, they don't get the first overall pick in the draft. Do you think that they're crazy? Myself, I think, no, that's a football team. That's what you want.
Hello,
Dan Campbell ain't playing
you play
to
win the game.
Daggum. But I'm hearing everybody like, why would you do that? If you know that Jacksonville's winning, all you got to do is lose. I'm tired of hearing that
Detroit's
stuff.
history of just incompetence, how many first-round draft picks have they squandered away in their history? So does it really matter if they get the first or the second pick? In my book, no, I don't think so. Until they change, I hate to go down this road again like I did with the Bears, but until they change ownership and maybe they get rid of the Fords and they find somebody else, this team's just not going to go anywhere. They're just spinning their wheels, and they're just off to a great stop.
Off to a great stop. Let's take a quick break, and we'll get what you got, Boston Tim.
Just saying, very Detroit-like.
We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with our winners and losers from Week 18 in the NFL, and then possibly break down some more games and upcoming playoff games.
It's here. The 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida app version 2.0. Now featuring ultra high fidelity. You'll feel like you're in the game. Plus, more opportunities to win weekly prizes from local businesses when you click it to win it. Download the 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida app today at Google Play or the Apple Store.
Hi, I'm Tracy, your diamond girl at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Shopping for the perfect diamond can be difficult, but that's why I've trained my staff to be helpful and to offer you a stress-free diamond experience. Pick your sparkle and use our easy layaway plan. Every woman deserves an exquisite diamond from your diamond girl at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. We don't work on commissions.
We work for smiles and I-dos.
So if you're tired of high-pressure salespeople, stop by and see us today at Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likas with today's Car Clinic Minute. Ever wish you had a crash course in brakes before you have a crash? Are the terms master cylinder, calipers, and brake pads all Greek to you? Don't worry, when I come back, it's Brakes 101.
The Car Clinic Minute.
It's Bobby Likas Car Clinic, brought to you locally by Hewitt Tire and Auto.
Call 850-769-7323.
Your certified AAA service center and hometown towing.
Visit them online at HewittTire.com.
On Airport Road in Panama City.
That's 850-769-7323. Hewitt Tire and Auto Center and Hometown Towing.
Welcome to Brakes 101. Knowing how brakes work helps ensure they do work. Master cylinders are the heart of the system. Hearts pump blood. Master cylinders pump brake fluid to all four wheels. Calipers and wheel cylinders, like strong hand muscles, convert brake fluid into stopping power. Brake pads and shoes, like skin, protect caliper muscles from friction caused by stopping. As in biological systems, the blood, muscles, and skin of braking systems are critical to long life. The brakes and yours. I'm Bobby Likas. Like us, you'll love us.
The #1 SEC call-in show is now twice as big. It's double the Paul Feinbaum Show. Weeknights starting at 6.
Okay, but also go faster.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. Live from the Rib Crib Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We are back. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs. It's 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We've got a big game tonight on our air. Paul Feinbaum after the Afternoon Underdogs until 7:30. Then we'll get you to the coverage for the Auburn-Alabama game, which tips at 8 p.m. That's going to be some good basketball tonight. I'm excited for it. I'm also excited to talk about our winners and losers from Week 18. Let's start off with K-Man Rick. Hit me with a loser.
Loser, okay. One of my first losers. How about TJ Watt? I know that's going to sound kind of crazy, right? How's TJ Watt a loser? Well, he's a loser because he should have got that sack record, because he did have what I think was a sack early in the game that got taken away as a tackle for a loss. And had he gotten credit for that as a sack, he would end up having the record instead of Michael Strahan's bogus record where he had his sack given to him, gifted, if you will, by Brett Favre going down. So T.J. Watt, I'm sorry, is a loser today because of what happened early off in that game.
Boston Sam, you got a loser?
It's funny that he says T.J. Watt because I was honestly going to say the exact same thing. It's huge that that's their loss. You know what I mean? That he didn't get that particular sack.
I wonder if there's an
I
escalator
thought
in the
it was
contract.
relatively obvious that it was a sack. The commentators said that it was a sack. I mean, everybody thought it was a sack except for the referees. It was unbelievable. And, even if he was, given a half a sack for it, it would have been the record.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because he tied it pretty early on into the game, I believe.
It was
maybe midway or something,
midway
a little
through the
bit
game.
past midway, because that one that got taken away, I think, was towards the end of the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken. I could be a little off. I was watching it on the red zone, so I was keeping up with a lot of stuff. But
Yes, sir. Same way for me. The obvious answer is the Colts, and someone will say that at some point in time, and we'll get into that. But let's go to another franchise that maybe needs to have the same type of an approach that the Jacksonville Jaguars did this last Sunday. What I mean by that is some of the Jacksonville fans got together, a large amount of them really, maybe small in terms of a whole stadium, but were wearing clown noses and clown regalia, if you will, in protest of their general manager continuing to outlast coaches and Trent Balk. Well, the Dolphins got to be in that same position. You're a loser because you win. If you would have beat the Tennessee Titans week prior, you're in the playoffs. There's possibilities for you to win the AFC East, I believe, but you definitely would have been in the playoffs had you finished off Week 18 the same way that you did with a big win over the Patriots. And then the very next day, you're firing the guy who got you to that point. To me, that's a loser mentality because you had a winning record. He had a good season, could have been better, but you started off 1-7 and you end off 9-8 and you get rid of that guy. And if the problem really is Tua, I would move on from Tua before I would have moved on from Brian Flores, and that's coming from an Alabama guy. But look, you're looking at the statistics of Tua, and it's really not matching up of what you want from an NFL quarterback, right? Maybe he's still got to get acclimated, all of those things, but how long can you really hold a quarterback's hand and be like, it's okay, buddy, it's okay, we'll get you to that point before finally, as a head coach, you realize what the GM can't and that this guy doesn't got it. Am I sitting here saying that Tua doesn't got it? No, not necessarily, but I am saying I would take Brian Flores over Tua.
I actually have that as my second one on my card right here. But I was going to also mention an honorable mention, if you will, Joe Judge and the Giants, just because of the horrible play calling he had.
3rd and 9, quarterback sneak.
Right. How do you justify that? Now, he did get fired today, and that's rightly so. So, yeah, good for the Giants fans. I just hope they don't get their junk together over there in New York and get themselves a decent coach and GM, because then I might have to start sweating a little bit being an Eagles fan.
Well, I think for me, it's one that you brought up in the last segment, David, or 2 segments ago, excuse me, in the Cardinals. I think that they're in both spectrums here. I think that they're losers for Sunday, but winners overall, right? So, being that said, is because this, right? So we know that at home they're only 3-5 on the season at home, right? But on away games they're 8-1. So there was a high probability that they were actually going to lose this game.
Yeah.
And in losing that game, they actually got the away seed. So now playing against the Rams rather than being the home team, they're the away team, 8-1. That's probably better for them. So while they were the losers here in this particular game on Sunday, it makes them, I think, statistically the winners in the overall beginning of the playoffs.
Are you a DJ? Because I like the way you spin that thing, man. That was nice. Let's get to a winner. Boston Tim, you got a winner?
For this particular weekend, Week 18, yeah, I mean, excuse me. I think it's huge, that the Raiders, like you said, they began with the overtime field goal and finished with the overtime field goal, and I think it's huge for them and for Derek Carr to know that they're doing it with a fill-in coach and injuries and how do you say it? The Ruggs situation,
tragedies.
Tragedy. There you go. Losing players for whatever reasons, whether it be COVID or self-inflicted or injuries or whatever, and then still playing strong and not having a coach and all the other things that have come with the loss of the coach. What I'm saying, of Gruden
and it's not like you lost a run-of-the-mill head coach. You lost a top-tier head coach.
But then it also comes with the emotional loss, and the mental status of who is the person that we thought was our coach this whole time, and the person that I've probably befriended over these years and things like that. And are these things that he actually says to people behind everybody's back. So there's all that comes with it as well. And to play the way that they did and up against an unbelievably strong Chargers team, I think that was a big win for them and Joe.
Yeah. That's a great winner. Caveman Rick, you got a winner.
Yeah, winner. How about Big Ben and the Steelers? He gets to go out a winner. I didn't think they were going to win that game. So after everything was said and done, that game goes into overtime. He ends up winning probably his last game in Pittsburgh. Steelers end up going into the playoffs. They're probably not going to win, I don't think, in the first round. And, good for Big Ben.
I've got them on my list of winners as well. Let's start. My first one will be more of a funny one, more of a selfish one. Fantasy owners of Amon-Ra St. Brown, just his final 5 to 6 weeks were absolutely amazing. And if you were looking for a wide receiver and you plugged him in, you benefited healthily for it. I finally got around to it today. I messaged him on Twitter. I'll probably never see a reply to it, but I was like, I thanked him. I was like, bro, without you, I don't win the fantasy championship this year, and it would be absolutely stellar if we could get you on for an interview one day. So we'll see what comes of it. If not, maybe I'll try to find out who his agent is and just harass him.
How about that name too? I guess he has maybe some Egyptian in him with Amon-Ra, which is like, I believe, like Ra, like the sun god of
absolutely. He's
Egypt
the most famous deity.
So that's pretty cool.
Neat name. Historically, and same thing with his brother. Equinox
I was about to say, got to be something going on there.
Religious name there. Amon-Ra, very popular, probably the most recorded of all Egyptian deities, and he even had his knowledge and passed on into the Greeks, and the Greeks even, if you read back far enough, say that he's the god that became Zeus. So very interesting. Amon-Ra.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, that's all right. That's dope to take a fantasy owner to get into that conversation. Yeah. That'll only happen right here on the Afternoon Underdogs with Boston Tim.
Obviously, there's something going on in his family background, or they're into some stuff like that. But that's kind of a neat name that you don't hear very often. Sure has some kind of significance. But if we get him on, maybe we can ask him about his name and his brothers. That'd be kind of cool.
You got another winner?
For me, even though, like we were talking about how they didn't get the draft pick, how about the Lions, though? Still going out winners. We're talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown at the same time. They have something to look forward to next season, a little bit of hope, if you will, more than what they normally do. I still think until they change ownership there, that team's just basically dead in the water. But if you're a Lions fan, you end your season on a high note, and you got something to look forward to beginning of next year.
Agreed. And for John, the father and mother, the very simple names, to have the two sons play against each other the final game of the season, you can't really lose either way. So good for the parents, winners there. You know what I mean? The parents are really the winners in that situation.
That is so cool. And what's also cool for the parents, at least for this year, who knows what will happen next year, but they play in the same division. So that's 2 times a year that they can travel.
Bust out those jerseys and wear them again.
Yeah, buddy. Those things are sweet,
and
man.
If anybody's wondering about Equimonius, I'll have to look it up, but I'm fairly certain that it ties to the Buddhist religion. So they're all over the place with their knowledge there in spiritual knowledge. So that's really interesting that they came with those names.
Yeah, I was about to ask about that one. I was like, well, I can't put him on the spot with that one. But knowing Boston Tim, he's probably already got the answer locked up. Another winner for me in Week 18 is the fans of the San Francisco 49ers helping their team get to the playoffs by showing up and just taking over SoFi Stadium. And Matt Stafford said in that second half they couldn't get going what they wanted to get going because of the disruptance of the sound.
More excuses, man. Matt Stafford needs to get his job together. It wasn't the fans in the stands. That's a poor excuse. That's petty.
Well, but there's reality to it. I mean, I get as a quarterback maybe not coming out and saying that because, yes, it does sound like
Actually, you
an
shouldn't
excuse.
say that as the quarterback. Keep that to yourself.
My winner are the San Francisco 49ers fans for showing up, packing out SoFi, whether it helped or if it didn't, regardless. The 49ers taking on the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs. And had they lost that game, they wouldn't be in the playoffs. The Saints would be. But they ponied up, down, what were they down, 2 possessions?
Sounds about right.
I'm pretty sure they were down 14 points or so. And to come back and to get Robbie Gould the win, it was overtime too. Yeah, I was like, man, all of the best games
trust me, I was
this
rooting
last
for the
weekend.
Overtime because that was more points. More
yeah,
points.
more
Cup,
points.
Higby, Stafford,
there
more
you
points.
go. All right, we're gonna take a short break. When we get back, catch you up on the local scores, go over some more games from the week.
My weather forecast overnight, mostly clear, chilly, 35 to 42, light east winds. Light east winds Wednesday, it'll be partly and mostly sunny, about 55 to 62. And it'll be around 62 Thursday, mostly sunny. Friday should be mostly sunny in the mid-60s or so, chance of showers over the course of the weekend. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Mid-South Lumber, best little lumber yard in Panama City and Youngstown. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
It's back. Keep listening for your chance to win $1,000 in the Grand Slam of Cash. Listen for the code word weekday mornings at 8:45 during the Coach James Hale Show and at 4:45 with the Afternoon Underdogs. When you hear the code word, enter it at ESPNPC.com or on the 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida app. There will be two $1,000 winners every week.
$1,000 in cash. Wow.
In the Grand Slam of Cash.
Dr. Chad Mitchell, orthopedic surgeon, specializing in sports medicine and joint replacement of the knee, shoulder, and hip. He serves our local athletes and our community. Southern Orthopedic Specialist has been the leader in orthopedic care for over 20 years. New patients are welcome. Call 850-769-KNEE to schedule an appointment. More about Dr. Mitchell and Southern Orthopedic Specialist is available on their website, southernorthopedic.com. Southern Orthopedic, getting you back in the game.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
Are you thinking about buying or selling real estate in the Panama City area? Think Real Estate is your team of local experts who simply love living and working in Bay County and helping others make their dreams come true through the exchange of homes and properties. We strive to provide excellent customer service in residential, commercial, and investment sales, as well as property management by combining classic customer service with crazy fresh marketing. Visit our website, whenyouthink.com.
Broadcasting from the Rib Crib Radio Room. You're riding shotgun with the Afternoon Underdogs. We're going to need some gas money. The Afternoon Underdogs.
Fill her up, please.
At 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
In the Rib Crib Radio Room, it's the Afternoon Underdogs right here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. After our show, we'll get you over to Paul Feinbaum until 7:30. Auburn and Alabama. Then the pregame will start. So coverage starts for that at 7:30. Tip off at 8 p.m. Auburn, Alabama. That one is sure to be a good one. SEC basketball so far in conference has been fantastic.
And hey, Feinbaum today should be pretty interesting. I bet you're going to hear some characters coming out of the woodwork because of that game last night. So if you want to hear some stuff and some shenanigans, tune into Feinbaum. I guarantee it.
Dude, North Bay Haven basketball has been playing really good, especially up against some of the bigger schools. So we had two games last night. North Bay Haven takes down Mosley 70-64, and then Poplar Springs beat Franklin County 79-64. Let's look at the AP, the final AP poll for 2021. Crazy year though. A record 14 preseason ranked teams finished unranked in total. The previous record was 12. So let's see how it all shaped out. Of course, number 1, Georgia. Number 2, Alabama. Number 3, Michigan. Number 4, Cincinnati. So Georgia tied its highest ever. Cincinnati, I believe, its highest ever final AP poll place at number 1, which the last time was 1980 after they beat Notre Dame. And then Cincinnati, I believe that's their highest finish in the AP poll as well, right there at number 4. Baylor, I think, look at them. Finishing the year, number 5. Ohio State comes in at 6. Oklahoma State at 7. Notre Dame follows them at number 8. Michigan State, number 9. Oklahoma finishes at 10. Ole Miss, not too shabby even after a loss, number 11. Utah, could you imagine where they'd be if they would have beaten Ohio State, but they finish off at 12. Pitt at 13. Clemson, 14. Wake Forest 15, back-to-back-to-back ACC teams. How about that? Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns finished at 16. Houston 17. 18th is Kentucky. BYU comes in at 19. North Carolina State finishes at 20. Arkansas settles at 21. Oregon finishes at 22. Iowa 23, and the final two are Utah State and San Diego State. So the top 10, or no, let's get here to the 3 teams that had their best poll finish ever. So Georgia tied its best mark. Cincinnati, Baylor had its highest mark, and Wake Forest as well. Cincinnati's previous best finish was number 8 in 2009 and in 2020. Number 5, Baylor, its best finish was number 7 in 2014 and a number 9 finish in 1951. It's only two. That's their only top 10 seasons ever. Number 15, Wake Forest finished in the top 15 for the first time ever, topping its best of number 18 in 2016. 51 wins by unranked teams against ranked teams. That's tied with 2016 and 2008 for the second most behind 2007, which had 57. There was a total of 47 teams that appeared in the poll for at least 1 week. That's tied for the 5th most behind 2018 with 54. 2020 had 51. 2008 also had 51. And 2002, 48. So what a way to finish off a chaotic season. Hopefully we're getting a little bit closer to normal. You know, this season was pretty wacky. Not as wacky as what 2020 was, but still had some postponements and stuff to deal with. What you got?
I was going to say what stands out to me on those rankings. First off, congrats to Leanne who called this too.
Oh yeah.
No Gators in that top 25.
No, actually, no Florida teams at all, which leaves the Sunshine State out of the AP poll for the first time since 1978.
So that's pretty good. You know, pretty crazy. She called that, and then shout out too about she made a long, reach of a call and saying Georgia was going to win and the national championship. She got that right last night too. So congrats to her. Way to go. And the other thing that kind of stood out to me was those 3 ACC teams in the early teens. I mean, like, the ACC wasn't that great. I mean, Wake Forest did pretty well, but outside of that, nobody really stood out. So to me, I thought that was kind of odd having them grouped together right there, where I think they, Wake Forest probably should have been the highest out of the bunch, I think, and then everybody else should have came at least probably at the earliest, the late teens. Agreed. And then into like the early 20s. But that's just my take on it.
We got a text in from Razorback Rick, who said texted in a winner along the winners and losers. He goes college football, though. He says winner FSU. We see that the ACC refs are pretty bad. I knew, like, when I found out that it was going to be an ACC officiated game, I was like, oh boy, you got to give us the worst of the worst. Well, I don't know, ACC, Pac-12.
Yeah.
Who's worse?
It's a tie.
It's a tie, man. We really wish that we would have had a tie Sunday night. Boston Tim would not be here. He'd be on vacation. All right, so Alabama-Auburn, big game coming up, 7:30 for the pregame tips at 8 o'clock. What was your favorite moment of the national championship last night, K-Man Rick?
Favorite moment? I guess it just had to be that pick six at the end when it got sealed, for Georgia. It was a pretty good, moment for them. Knowing then that once that went down, that the game was pretty much over. There was no way, it was going to change scores and anybody was going to come out with a different outcome. So that was probably it for me.
What about for you, Tim?
I would probably have to go with the blocked field goal. That was definitely an exciting moment. And like I said earlier in the show, I think it was really the momentum turn in the game in itself.
Yeah, no doubt. For me, might be the broadcast. I don't know what we picked on the over-under of references to 1980. Honestly, I couldn't find all the answers to the prop bets, but there was a lot of references to 1980, like back to back to back to back. So whatever it was set at, it went over that. I don't care what the number was.
25 or something like that.
Yeah.
You're like, it's going to be 50. It'll probably be 35.
You get a number on the St. Elmo one?
I didn't even hear him reference it one time. We're out of here. We'll be back tomorrow at 4. Coach James Hale at 7 in the morning.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.